Hello, and thank you for watching. My name is Andre Atobeki. Those of you who are familiar with me and my channel, I generally cover topics of spirituality. But today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about politics. So some of you may say, what does politics have to do with spirituality? Spirituality is about going inward, observing the inner workings of your own mind. Whereas politics is about going out there, affecting, changing the world out there. So spirituality and politics, they work in opposite directions. And they really don't have anything in common. However, whenever you go inward and you learn about human nature, that intimate knowledge can help you with any field of endeavor, including politics. Now, I'm recording this video in July of 2022, and humanity is facing many global challenges. Pandemic, inflation, food shortages, nuclear threat, environmental concerns, and much more. But in addition to all that, we here in the United States, we've had our own unique challenges as well. What we have witnessed in the last few years is a mistrust of our democratic institutions. What we have witnessed is a vulgar display of corruption and abuse of power by our so-called public officials. So one question that I've been asked, which led to the recording of this video, is there a spiritual concept that can shed light on our current situation? So in the Mitraic tradition, there is a concept called Zat, and it's spelled Z-A-A-T. It's been translated from Persian to English as nature. So when you say nature, that means that it's something innate, something that you're born with. But I think a better translation would be, what is your motivator in life? What is your calling? So I think that would be a better translation. But think of Zat as a force that is embedded deep in your psyche, and it propels you in a specific direction. It pushes you outward into the world, into a general line of work. Rumi explains this concept very well. He says, everyone has been made for some particular work, and the desire for that work has been put in every heart. So according to the concept of Zat, there are 5 major professional categories out there. First one are scholars and intellectuals. So as the name implies, we are referring to university professors, teachers, anybody who generally deals with information, like librarians, journalists, historians, judges, attorneys, etc. So what do these folks have in common is they want to uncover the truth. So what motivates them is knowledge. Then the second group are the ruling class, politicians, the police department, anybody related to FBI, CIA, Border Patrol, even the fire department. What do these folks have in common is they want to enforce safety regulations. They want to enforce the law. And their general job is to protect the masses, their country. So what motivates them is a sense of patriotic duty. The third group are merchants. So you can think of Wall Street in general, anything related to investment banking, finance, anything related to business, merchandising, marketing, etc. So what motivates this group of folks is a desire for wealth and power. Now, if you have watched the movie Wall Street, when Gordon Gekko was talking to a bunch of his fellow merchants, he encouraged them to embrace their basic nature, embrace the greed. So what motivates them is greed and self-gratification. The fourth group are the working class. You can think of the blue collar folks, truck drivers, mechanics, plumbers, electricians, nurses, the backbone of America. And what do these folks have in common? They generally want to work in an already established organization. They want to know what time they're coming, what time they're going. And basically, they just want to come in, do their job, and go back to their family. So what motivates them is family and a sense of service. And the fifth group, for the lack of a better word, they've been called the outlaws. So you can think of like pimps, prostitutes, drug dealers, any kind of business that is not legal, counterfeits, money laundering, etc. And sometimes what side of the law you stand on depends on, your culture and timing. Like, for example, prostitution is legal in some countries and is illegal in some other countries. In some Middle Eastern countries, you can smoke hash, cannabis, opium, but you can't drink alcoholic beverages. So, but the takeaway here is that this group of folks are also merchants, and they're driven by a sense of greed and self-gratifications. They search wealth and power. So what the concept of Zot teaches us is that there needs to be a separation between merchants and our political establishment. They should not be able to corrupt our politicians. They should not be able to buy our politicians and influence them. Like during time of Cyrus, before he became the king, he was part of a military organization, very similar to today's Army National Guard, where young men would get together once a month for a few days, and they would go through military drills, sleep in the same quarters, kind of create a sense of brotherhood, just in case their services were required. But they were strictly prohibited from mingling with merchants, because what merchants do, their basic nature is greed. And that greed, as soon as it spills over to the government side, it destroys, it infests, and it corrupts. Like, look at what's happening in Mexico right now. The drug cartels, they've bought a lot of judges, politicians, even at the highest office, police officers that have infested the entire Mexican society. So what's the difference between Mexico and the United States? Nothing. We have legalized those type of briberies here in the United States, and we've given them fancy names like dark money or lobbying, etc. And we're not here putting down merchants. Their basic desire is greed, and there is a place in society for greed. That's the market. It expands the economy, creates jobs, etc., etc. But as soon as it spills over to the government, that's when it becomes a problem. And what is greed, if not excessive desire or consumption for food and gluttony? Excessive desire for wealth and power. So when we say excessive, it means excessive thoughts. Excessive, repetitive thoughts that lead to an obsessive compulsive disorder. Think of greed as a spiritual disease. It numbs your spiritual organs. It affects your intellect and your vision. You lose the big picture. And you get this tunnel vision, and all you see is the object of your desire. And sometimes you can't even think of how you want to get there, as long as you get there. It doesn't matter, who you burn along the way, as long as you get there. So think of it as a form of spiritual disease that has no place in government. Government needs clarity and a good sense of judgment for the betterment of society, for the betterment of the future generation. And just because a group of merchants operate on the side of the law doesn't mean they have more integrity. A prime example is like a company like Johnson & Johnson, a Fortune 500 company, traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Amongst many of the products they sell is a baby powder that has been known to be contaminated with asbestos, causing ovarian cancer amongst women. And guess what? They're still selling that product to many women around the world. They sell many opioids, causing overdose, addiction. Does that mean that they have more integrity than, say, the Sinaloan cartel led by El Chapo Guzman, who gives away 10% of his annual income? So the basic message here is that democracy and capitalism can live side by side, as long as our politicians regulate businesses for the betterment of the people, for the betterment of our future generations. But it seems that trend has reversed. They're trying to regulate us, the people, mandate us, and affect our ideology through a sophisticated corporate media machine. And we, the people, need to end this. We need to end the influence of the big corporations on our government. That's all I have to say for today. Please, if you enjoyed this program and you want to support this channel, click like and subscribe. Your comments are very much appreciated, and thank you for your time.